next lesson we have, the next way that we have to solve quadratics is by completing the square. When we complete the square, we are visually in our minds or mentally or visually on paper completing an actual square, a shape. I'm going to show you how to complete the square with some algebra tiles, and then we'll get into the tricks of it all, okay? So, anytime I see the directions that say complete the square, solve by completing the square, factor by completing the square, I'm going to move my constant over to the other side. So here I added 9, and I added 9 to get 13. Well, using a model, we're going to model x squared plus 12x. So this box here represents x squared. Okay. It has a length of x times a length of x, so this is x squared. And my rectangles represent my x's. If I wanted to divide or evenly distribute that 12x amongst the top of my square and on the side of my square, we would split it up 6 and 6. Okay, that's evenly divided. Well, I'm missing some pieces here to complete this square, to make this look like an actual shape. So my question to you is, how many ones would I have to sit here and draw in order for me to fill in my square? You have to think about what's going on here. Okay? If I want to fill in my square, I have a length and a width. Area is the term that describes the space filled in by something. So you could count all of those dots, but what is 6 times 6? 36. There are 36 dots in this image here. Okay, it takes me 36 ones to fill this in. Well, we can write an equation to represent this square that we've just completed. On the outside, I know I have a side length of x, that's x, and I have 6 things, so I'm going to add 6. Here I have a side length of x, and I have 6 more things. So x plus 6 times x plus 6 gives me this area model, this square. So if I look down at step 4, x plus 6 times x plus 6 can be multiplied out to get me x squared plus 36. I added those 36 ones, right? These are the added ones. Well, we have x plus 6 times x plus 6. We could simplify that writing by x plus 6 squared. Well, if we write x plus 6 squared, we can rewrite our original equation. Okay? We can rewrite it as x plus 6 squared is equal to 36. Is equal to 13. However, to get that x plus 6 squared, we had to add 36 to one side, and mathematically what you add to one side, you have to add to the other. So for right now, for the process of just completing the square, we're going to stop here. We have completed the square. This is the equation that truly represents the image that we just drew. So let's try this again. Anytime we see the directions that say complete the square, we're going to add our constant to the other side. So we're going to have x squared plus 8x equals 20. I want to take this x squared plus 8x and I want to represent it using my model. So I'm going to draw in a square that represents my x squared. And I want to divide 8 evenly. So I'm going to put 4 x's on top. I'm going to put 4 x's on the side. So how many 1s am I missing to fill in my table here? Well, 4 times 4 is 16. So let's write the equation that models this. We have x plus 4 and x plus 4. X plus 4 times x plus 4 can be simplified as x plus 4 squared, and my equation still equals 20. But I'm missing something. My equation isn't truly balanced. Remember, this x plus 4 squared is really x squared plus 8x plus 16 equals 20. Because we added 16 here, we added 16 here, so I'm missing the plus 16. So my final answer, the true answer that models this, is x plus 4 squared equals 36. And for today's lesson, this is just where we're going to stop. We have completed the square. We can stop. So let's look at number 2. Again, our goal when we see complete the square, our first step is to add 18. So I'm going to have x squared plus 6x equals 18. I want to represent the first part of my equation using a model. So I'm going to draw one. A square represents my x squared, and I want to split 6 evenly, so I have the same amount of x's on the top and on the side of my model. My model's not complete until I fill in the square, so I know that 3 times 3 is 9. I am missing 9 1s. Again, we can begin to write the equation. We'll have x plus 3 times x plus 3. So we can simplify this as x plus 3 squared equals 18. But don't forget, we have to add the 1s onto this side of the equation as well. So this final answer is x plus 3 squared equals 27. Why don't you take the time to pause the video and try this next example by yourself. Alright, so let's match our answers. Again, in number 3, you should have moved your constant first. We're going to represent this first 2 terms in my model, x squared, and I split up my 4 x's. So I'm missing 4 1s. 2 times 2 is 4. I can begin to write the equation of this model by x plus 2 and x plus 2, which simplifies to x plus 2 squared. It is still equal to the 4 in my original problem, but I cannot forget to add the 1s to the other side. And there's my simplified answer. I encourage you to try to practice the next page using this area model before you complete the video for example number 4. The answers to the next page are also on the blog so that you may check to see if you have these steps correct. Let's look at example number 4 and talk about a shortcut way to solve by completing the square. Not everybody likes to draw the area model, so let's talk about a way that we don't have to use it. You'll notice in number 4 they've already moved the constant. So that is still our first step. you need to move the constant. The next step that you need, if you're solving it algebraically, is you need what's called a vertex template. Now let's recognize what's going on here. In this problem, or in these above examples, we're going from 4 to 2. 4 was my original number in the middle. Now 2 is. Ask yourself, what is the relationship from 4 to 2? You should recognize that 2 is half of 4. So your next step is to half the middle term. Half of 6 in this case is 3. Okay. Well, I always added something to the outside. I added in some 1s. Well, what does 2 and 4 have in common? 2 times 2 is 4. So 2 squared is 4. So you're going to square the middle and add it. So 3 squared is 9. The last step is going to be to clean this up and to simplify. So we're going to have x plus 3 squared equal to a negative 25. And that is how you complete the square. Next up will be how to solve by completing the square.